Hello, I'm Marcus Anderson, and this is my speech entitled The Logwood Tree, the Unknown Hero of the Tree World. So, why talk about a tree? Well, if you, after a bit of research, one will discover that the logwood tree has a very rich and storied history that goes along with it. A lot of people enjoy pirate epics and medical dramas on television. Well, these are all a part of the very rich and storied history of the logwood tree. As a histologist, I use some of the byproducts of the logwood tree in the histology laboratory every day. And this is actually one of the reasons I picked this as my subject is because actually this would be one of the very interesting things that I would tell new people that I was training in the field, and also students that would come in to learn a little bit more about what we do. This is one of the, if we had time, this is one of the neat facts that I would teach them as well, because it's a very interesting subject when you get to looking into it. So most people have never even heard of the logwood tree. It's got a very extraordinary rich history that goes back hundreds of years, and the most common original use of the logwood tree was a source of a commercial dye. The use of the logwood tree is is also used in medicine, which we will also discuss later on too. But first, I'd like to discuss a little bit about the long history of the logwood tree. The first thing that I would mention that is that it actually goes back thousands of years. It's actually been found in archaeological evidence that the Mayans actually knew about and made use of the logwood tree for their purposes as far back as 1000 BC, so that's a long time ago. And the modern world kind of came into discovery of the logwood tree back in probably the early 1500s by the Spanish conquistadors when they would come into the New World, and they actually discovered, the natives using this tree, and they actually would uh, find out it was very useful for dyeing textiles and things of the like, and they would harvest the heartwood out of the tree and send it back by ship over to Europe and Asia, back where they came from. So this is how it got to be all over the world. It became a use as a dye all over the world back then, and a very profitable one. You can find out a lot about this if you just do a little basic research. A couple of sources that I found, you can find by an article by Kunkel in the Department of Pathology website from the University of Michigan. It's an article called Logwood, A History of Pallets, Pirates, and Pathology. So it's a very interesting article as well. And as you go a little bit farther into the history of the logwood tree, the most common use, as I said before, was that of a commercial dye. The logwood tree could be used to produce several dyes that could be used to dye textiles and other products. If you go back to the artist palette, it was known as natural black number one. The color was sometimes seen, it had to have the tendency to fade somewhat. So they also discovered that if you introduced a mordant to the dye, that it become more permanent, and you could also get more colors, varying colors from the dye. It could be used to create some really good black, blue, purple, and even red hues, and some within the color spectrum there. It became a very unique and sought after dye, which made it very, very profitable at the time. And this actual profitability is what made it a target sometime for pirates, so not getting into the, the pirate epic too far here, but some pirates were known because of his profitability to commandeer the ships and steal the product off the ships. And actually, even the pirate, most well-known pirate of all, actually, Blackbeard, was known to have captured a couple of the vessels carrying this logwood harvest, and would sell off the logwood and actually keep the ship that he would capture for his own pirate fleet. So kind of very interesting history there that goes back even to Blackbeard himself. So it's not just your ordinary tree that we're talking about here. And again, you can find out more about this in the article Hematoxylin, Mesoamerica's Gift to Histopathology. Uh, and you can find this in the International Journal of Surgical Pathology. It actually talks about the pirate, it being the pirate's treasure, and actually talks about what I want to talk about next is its use in medicine. And you can find that it made that mention before of it being in use in the histology laboratory. It is actually the byproduct of the heartwood, the chips from the heartwood of the logwood tree was used to make a dye, a histological stain called hematoxylin. We use this in the lab on every slide that we create for microscopic evaluation by the pathologist in a stain called H&E, hematoxylin eosin. So this hematoxylin is actually used as a nuclear stain. It stains each individual nucleus of a cell, and it makes it very important part of actually diagnosing and determining how far cancer has developed within the human tissues, because you can see each individual nuclei within each individual cell, and you can actually detect cancerous growth because you can actually see multinucleated cells, cells that are rapidly dividing, i.e. cancer, within individual tissues as multinucleated cells and cells, with multiple nuclei very close together. You can see them, cancer spreading within the tissue. You can see the extent to which it has gone, and that's a very important part of cancer diagnosis and treatment there. So it's a very important stain medically, coming from the logwood tree itself. This is a product coming from the logwood tree. It's a very important within the laboratory, crucially important to pathologic diagnosis. It has a rich, as we said before, it has a very rich history, and so from pirates to purple pants to laboratories and diagnosis of cancer, the logwood tree, it continues to build on this legacy that is thousands of years in the making. Just remember next time you see this one of these small assuming trees, out on your way to work or something, that there might be something more there than meets the eye. The logwood tree is a very good example of that. And I hope everyone's learned a little bit about the logwood tree, something they can find interesting. Thanks.